Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm so glad that you're here, whether you're listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube. I am thrilled about today's episode because I am giving a behind the scenes of Family Savvy, the people who make Family Savvy run, and without whom I could not do any of what I do, or if I did do it, it wouldn't be well. It would not be excellent. So I'm thrilled to bring my team on, and everyone's going to weigh in. So I just want to, first of all, thank all of you for being here. I'm so grateful. Okay. And guys, because there are 6 of us, everybody's muted until the other person speaks. So there's not going to be a lot of back and forth. So I am going to start by introducing Robert Drake. And guys, Robert, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, Robert is coming to us from New York, the Catskills. Actually, he has stopped working in the city and moved out to the beautiful, lovely portion of the Catskills. It has a lot going on there. And I want Robert to start because Robert has been with Family Savvy since the very beginning, and he can tell you what he does. But when I started Family Savvy, I had no technical expertise, didn't know how to code, did not know how to build a website. And Robert was with me from the beginning. He has built it from the inception. And Robert is just always on call to do anything that is needed. Robert, sort of explain what you are. First, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm living in the almost sort of the geographic center, the Catskill Mountains, which are about 90 minutes north of New York City. When folks think of New York, they tend to think New York City, sort of the hustle, the bustle, Times Square, and all of that. And the reality is New York is really quite a massive state, and outside of a couple of spots, it's largely very rural. You know, folks don't necessarily recognize just how agricultural and scenic a lot of New York is. And I'm lucky to be in sort of the section that looks a lot prettier than, say, downtown Manhattan.
What is the name, the specific name? I've seen pictures of where you are.
I'm in the hamlet of Phoenicia in the town of Shandaken.
Wow. Yeah.
No one's heard of either of those.
Yeah.
But it's right in the center. Again, it's about a 90-minute to a 2-hour drive between where I am. And it's also the source of New York City's water supply. So we've got the Ashokan watershed. And
Robert, you have a property that's like a bed and breakfast. Can we also link to all of, like, if people want to find out where you are and where to stay if they want to visit, can we link to all of that?
Absolutely. In fact, there's the Phoenicia Business Association. In fact, a meeting I have later today.
Because you're on the town council.
I am. The town council of Shandaken is the town. Phoenicia Business Association is the hamlet, and there's a number of bed and breakfasts, hotels. There's a lot of things to do, a lot of ecotourism, hiking, fishing, hunting in season, skiing in season. We have folks who go tubing down the Esopus Creek and things like that. It's and again, 90 minutes from New York City. You wouldn't really expect that.
Well, those who love travel are going to want to check out the show notes and connect, because that sounds like a hidden jewel.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure. Well, Robert, tell everyone what you do in general and then what you do for Family Savvy.
So in effect, I fall within that sort of general, ever-encompassing sort of banner of IT guy. That's the broad scope is IT guy, which is sort of, duties as assigned, I think, is sort of the closest specific you could get in some ways. I began, my initial career was as a network admin. So basically setting up firewall switches and things like that. That's sort of what I started in, like in college and things like that. And then roughly around 2009, which is when, sort of the economy took a little bit of a slide around that time. IT work wasn't necessarily that bad, but it was a good time to start side hustles if you could. And so the easiest, this is still largely true, but in some ways the easiest side hustle is web stuff, whatever web happens to be, whether it's content, design, development, what have you.
Because you do it, as you said, you do it per client as needed. Is that correct? It's sort of it's not an office job. You do it wherever, however.
You can do it whenever, you can do it wherever. You can scope up and scope down as much as you need. You have fewer clients, have more clients. You can kind of engage with it. It's a nice little side job that can very easily become a main job. It's an area that is still a growth industry in many ways. There's a lot of technologies. There's a lot you can do, and certainly around 2009, when looking for a little extra scratch. Let's see what we can do. And so I initially started myself, and then I fairly quickly started working with another gentleman, my business partner, and we joined together for Creekside Systems. That's sort of the name. The running joke is that at the time there was no creek. I now live near a creek. 15 years later, I'm near a creek. Initially, it just seemed like a nice name, and we were looking around for a creek. We were a creekless Creekside Systems. The creek came later, but again, roughly around that time, that's when WordPress was starting to get real big.
And WordPress, for those who don't know, is one of the main platforms that a blog is built on, and I am WordPress.
Yep.
There's now Squarespace and some others, but that to clarify that.
Yep. It's a content management system, and the market has in some ways matured in that there's a handful that are big players. There used to be more, but they were much smaller sort of players in some ways. And WordPress really started to become what it is now, which is sort of this huge player in sort of the web space, roughly around 2009-ish. And so I was building sites I had a few for myself, and I had a few for clients, and I was doing some web work at my job at the time and what have you. And I happened to develop a plugin. So WordPress has this, part of what makes WordPress a very strong platform is that anybody can create plugins, which are sort of additional bits of functionality that build on the base content there. And example plugins might connect it with e-commerce, or they might connect it with a notification service, or they might allow geolocation. There's tens of thousands of plugins. And I happen to build this fairly simple plugin called Category Shortcode. Basically, it's defunct. It's not needed or useful anymore. But at the time, that functionality wasn't sort of built into WordPress. I put it out there. It was intended to solve a problem that I was having with a sort of a separate website.
And it was free, Robert. Let me just say, wasn't it free? You were giving it away, and here comes Jamie.
I didn't necessarily think anybody was going to ever find it or use it, but a few folks did. You were one of the early users, and I don't recall what your specific question happened to be, but you had some, can it do this, or how do I make it do that? We started a communication, and whatever that initial question happened to be, it was something that I could sort out on I wouldn't necessarily say a whim exactly, but I mean, you gave me to the keys of the kingdom. You gave me the login to your website, more or less sight unseen. I mean,
I'm a good judge of character. And we had communicated a little bit, but I knew, I said, this guy's a genius, and he's nice. He's not money hungry. He's giving me all this free advice. And so I brought you on board quickly, early on. And like you said, you have the keys to the kingdom. And I joke, you could totally take me down. You have every password to everything. I might,
yeah.
I mean, Robert, yeah. So you've got to know I trust you. So you basically, Robert, this was 2011, and now 2022. There's a podcast, and there's such a platform that we have to have a lot more hosting, and you've handled it all. When the site goes down, I text you, and you can basically, if someone's listening that may even want to start a website or whatever, you basically, am I correct, can do any of that? You're a Google master, a web master.
I mean, over the years, picked up a fairly expansive skill set. I always try to hesitate about doing anything because that's, of course, when you get pitched that question, you're like, I have no idea what that is, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, your site has expanded significantly. The functionality of the site has changed significantly. There's been a number of revisions on the site. We've changed hosting. The web world itself has changed a bunch. Concerns about accessibility are different than they have been. There's been a lot of changes with SEO and analytics and how that stuff. I mean, it used to be sort of as simple as you'd put in some meta descriptions and call it a day. And now you have Facebook tags and you have, it's the world has matured. And so the sites have to as well. And thankfully, a lot of that is WordPress. It's a strong platform. Sometimes it's as simple as installing the right plugin and configuring it. In other cases, it's more intensive than that, but the site has and continues to grow a lot, and the tech, the goal of the tech is to be sort of as invisible as possible, right? That like you can do what you want to do, and the tech just sort of works in the background, and that's the goal.
Oh, and I do want to reiterate that to anyone listening. You have to have a Robert. You have to have a tech, because if your site goes down, or even, and the rest of the team can attest, if there is a technical issue or a Google issue. In fact, Robert, you set up the whole team on the Google workspace, all of that. You just, a normal person like me just can't learn all of that. And you're out of the way until needed. You're just great. You're always there if needed. And you travel a lot, or you used to, and
I do. Yeah.
You always get back. You're just fabulous. So yes, IT, and you're worth every penny, probably way more than I probably need to give all of you a raise. So all of that's coming at some point. So, but Robert, is there anything before we move on? Since we're on WordPress, I'm going to move over to Ben's and Sarah Morgan, since we're talking about WordPress. But is there anything you would like to say to anyone listening who's maybe intrigued and thinking, hey, I want to start a website or a blog? Do you have contact information, where do you offer maybe short consultations or a back and forth with somebody maybe who's interested in doing?
Always happy to answer questions. You've got, of course, my email, but we could include that in the liner notes and what have you. Otherwise, it's creating content is fun at some level, right? And being able to create content for the world. It's one of the, you can argue whether the modern world is good or bad, but one of the great things that's happened over the last, call it 20 years or so, is that folks are able to contribute content in a way that they never really could historically. You don't have to go through a publisher. You don't have to go through that. Anybody can create stuff. And if you create good content, folks will find it. And maybe you have a small community, maybe you have a large community, but anybody can be a contributor to sort of the world's broader knowledge. And if you've got anything interesting to say, the tech won't get in the way. You'll find a way, you'll find a person who will help you. And I encourage anybody to jump in, you'll find a space. It may or may not be family savvy. It may not be a full blog, but you'll find a way to create interesting content for folks.
Well, can't recommend Robert enough, guys. I told him, I said, you share everything, but don't ever leave me. That's the only thing. None of my people can leave, but they can do whatever. But okay. Well, now that, since we're on WordPress, I'm really going opposite. I'm going to the one who came to me the latest. Robert was the first, but I want to introduce Sarah Morgan Johnson. Sarah Morgan is a precious and beautiful young lady. I know her family. Our daughters went to school together. But Sarah Morgan, introduce yourself. And since we're on the topic of WordPress, that's basically the Family Savvy blog. And WordPress, you have access to my WordPress. You go in the back end. You actually edit. You write some for me that I approve, and we go back and forth. So introduce yourself first, and then tell your role.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Miss Jamie. So my name is Sarah Morgan, like Miss Jamie has said. I am from Birmingham and I just graduated from Mississippi State. So I'm here in Starkville right now. But I got a degree in English and worked for the student newspaper at Mississippi State. So I love to write, and working for Family Savvy for Miss Jamie has been the most fun, creative outlet. If I'm writing a paper on Shakespeare or an article about something boring that's happening on school or campus, it's so fun to be able to play a part in creating the type of content that we do at Family Savvy. So I really do enjoy that so much. But like Miss Jamie said, I deal a lot with WordPress, which writing is not new to me, but WordPress and everything techie, everything that Robert deals with on a day-to-day basis is like a foreign language to me. So it was definitely a learning curve figuring that out, but I'm so glad that I have. And once you learn, it really is pretty straightforward and simple. At least what I have to do is. But yes, so I help create blog content, so recipes. Whenever we do podcasts, I help with the show notes, which I really enjoy. And then also help create the newsletter, which goes out every Thursday. So anyways, but I really enjoy that. And with the newsletter, that is probably my favorite part, just because like you said, Ms. Jamie, I have only been part of the Family Savvy team for, I think, just over a year now. I think I came on last May. And so it's so much fun to be able to share new recipes and podcasts that have come out on the blog or the Instagram, but also pull from those older posts or older podcast episodes and see, you know, the history of the blog and the Instagram and just the business as a whole, and be able to share that with readers and listeners and users, and then also learn so much more about it myself.
Well, and I will say what you're doing, the WordPress is its own animal, doing the blog things. The newsletter is another animal. And for everyone who gets the newsletter, Sarah Morgan pulls all that together she pulls out my content, works with Finlay and Ben's to try to keep everything coordinated, you know, on social media, newsletter. But that's a whole nother thing that I could not do if I didn't have you or someone doing that. So, and if you aren't signed up for the Family Savvy newsletter, please do. And you'll get a weekly newsletter with podcast episode, seasonal recipes, and Sarah Morgan does a great job with that. So Sarah Morgan, is there anything else that you would like to share that you would like anyone to know about what you're going to be doing or what you hope to do in the future?
My work at Family Savvy started out just as another job last summer, and then I've continued throughout my senior year of college, and then I'll be attending Ole Miss grad school in the fall, and I'm getting a degree in Southern Studies. So it's just been neat to see how that has all fit together, from my degree in English to what I'm doing next. And Family Savvy has definitely just given me great skills in writing and communication, and then also learning some of the tech stuff that does not come naturally to me at all, but is really beneficial to learn and necessary. So it's just been neat to see how all of it has kind of tied together, but I've really appreciated it.
And Southern Studies is it's a brand spanking new degree, correct? At Ole Miss. Southern Studies, for anyone who's wanting a new, I mean, like the garden and gun type, literature.
Yes, and I think, I cannot remember when the program was founded, but I think it's definitely been gaining popularity over the past couple of years. And if you're in that like garden and gun, Southern living type world, a lot of people have heard of it. We're just people from Mississippi, since it's at Ole Miss, a lot of people know what it is. But then for everyone else, I told them I'm doing Southern Studies, and they're like, what are you doing? But it's an interdisciplinary degree. So it's like Southern literature and food and culture and history all wrapped up into one. So they have the Southern Foodways Alliance at Ole Miss, but there's another program on Southern culture in the country, but Ole Miss was the first school to have that program.
Well, that is great. And I just wish you the best, but I'm hoping that you can continue doing your family.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm going to bring on Ben's, sweet Ben's from the Philippines. And Y'all, Ben's is one of the more new to the team, not the newest, but Ben's, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I know the time. What time is it in the Philippines right now?
It's 10 p.m. right now.
Oh, mercy. Okay. We try to do
Yeah.
things early or either really late where we cannot have you up in the middle of the night. But Ben's, thank you for being here. Would you just tell everyone what you do for Family Savvy and how we found each other?
Hi everyone. My name is Benz. I'm actually the member who lives the farthest in the Family Savvy team. So I'm from Manila here in the Philippines. I'm not sure if you remember this, Jamie, but I think I started as a Pinterest manager for your team. And then it went on when Jamie somehow discovered that I kind of knew some stuff regarding SEO and writing. And that's where that's what my job is, particularly right now for Family Savvy. So I basically would help Jamie in terms of ranking SEO for her blog posts. So once Sarah is able to finish the blog post or the blog topics that we would publish for that particular for the weeks, I'm the one who goes in before we publish the post and make it sure that the blog post is SEO friendly. Yeah, and I also do a couple of marketing stuff for Jamie in terms of Facebook and Pinterest before Aniston took over. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Ben's SEO, and I do want to say, Ben's, you actually have a master's degree.
In industrial psychology.
In industrial psychology, SEO, and just for those watching and listening who might not know, SEO is search engine optimization. And if your SEO is not good, Robert, I know you can get found, but to attest to, it's not easy to get found if your SEO is not good. And when we do anything, we always ask Ben's to give her final say on the title. You actually generate all of the titles, SEO keyword rich titles. An SEO expert is very, very, very important for reachability. And so that you do that. And then Ben's, you do a lot for me on YouTube. You really can do anything. One thing about Ben's is you've never said you can't do anything that I've asked. You always figure out a way, but your wheelhouse is SEO and keeping us right up there on the top in Google search. And Ben's, is there anything you want to share about yourself or what you do with the audience and, anything?
So before I met Jamie during the pandemic, because I know I started, I think January 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked with other foreign clients, and that's where I kind of honed my skills in terms of SEO, marketing related stuff. But then when I worked with Jamie gives you, she's really flexible in terms of things, but make sure that you're on top of things. So when I started working with Jamie, I was able to do my work and also travel. So that's one thing that I really love about working with Jamie is that she just makes sure that you're doing your job and you're enjoying what you love to do. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, I really like to travel. So for those who have been following me on Instagram, you guys know that I've been traveling a lot. So yeah, that's what I've been doing these days. Yeah.
But you always get your things done. And I will say you are the best communicator, not for this to be your second language. I've never had any problem, and your texts and all of that. So I'm just grateful for you, and you're always in the loop on everything. And you and Sarah Morgan work together a lot on the blog. So now we are going to move to the SavvyCast, to the podcast, and then we're going to move to social media, and then we'll be done. But I guess, Chris, you're next because you were the one who got me. You're the Robert to the SavvyCast. You helped me with everything from the very beginning. You told me what equipment to buy. You got me set up. You would run over here every time there was a problem. Okay, so let me introduce my podcast guru, Chris Bailey. Chris, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so cool, honestly, just being in this kind of like behind the scenes look to see the team, because I remember now for the SavvyCast, we have a team of 4 plus people working on the SavvyCast. And when we started, it was just you and me. And the biggest discussions were, oh my gosh, what topics are we going to talk about? What even is the SavvyCast going to be about?
Oh, wow. And you've helped grow. I mean, any growth is, you've helped with that, and you monitor everything. I don't know tell everyone what you do. I come in and I sit, Chris is local. I can, we're 5 minutes away.
I was going to say probably it depends on how people feel driving on 280. Sometimes they actually want to move, and sometimes it's a parking lot. If you're local, I'm sure you'll be agreeing with that. But yeah, we're very, very close. I love what Robert said. I fall under kind of a general umbrella of video production and audio production as opposed to IT. And really just, I remember when we started, it was everything from deciding guests and topics to which equipment to purchase to editing software. We walked through teaching you how to do some editing in case I was unavailable, because back then we did not have multiple individuals. And then really from there, just kind of continuing to put out episodes and grow the podcast slowly over time. And the one thing that I've told Jamie since the beginning, and I wish my other clients were as good as her, is having consistency. Jamie is so consistent with these podcasts. I just have to thank you for that, because it makes my job a lot easier, and it makes the growth a lot easier because you've got that consistent upload schedule.
And you make it, and Chris, and we're about to bring Finlay on and share how y'all work together. But basically, now it's not just a podcast. We're on every podcast platform, and we're on YouTube. So you have been there since it was just podcasting now. And the growth, where are we pretty much right now with where we stand in
terms of audio or video?
Probably the podcast, like the SavvyCast.
Yeah,
it sort of made a little ripple?
I would say it's made a huge ripple. I would say that you're right now at least in the top 1%, if not higher, of any podcast, period, with over 100,000 lifetime downloads. I believe last time I looked, we're in 60 countries. Wow. We are a global podcast that multiple people from countries all over the world listen to every single week. And I believe we average probably, now we're at about 10,000 downloads a month, which before, I remember when we hit that as a lifetime download, I remember our first 1,000. I was like, I was in your office freaking out. I'm like, we did it. And you're like, is that good? I'm like, it's really good.
Yeah. So we definitely have. Well, and let me just say, and then Finlay, feel free to pipe in if you want to unmute, but the process as it is I come in, I sit down just like this on Zoom with my guests, like I'm doing now with my microphone, and I record everything on Zoom. And then Finlay gets the audio and edits it, and she can tell that. And then Chris is the video, everything that goes out on YouTube. So y'all work together. And and this is what I'm so grateful for to y'all and to the team in general. I am not an organizer. All I do is create. And my team is such. Like I do the podcast, I don't ever do anything again. I do it, walk away. I mean, I might have to, help do a little something with show notes or whatever. Y'all are you're a well-oiled machine. And Finlay, do you want to pipe in, or Chris, do you want to pipe in about anything specific that you do that might intrigue everyone or that? Because you do this for more than just me. This is your business. And
this is our business. I manage a firm. It's CSB Productions. I always feel weird plugging my business because I'm like, yes, and call now in the next 5 minutes and you'll get this free sticker. It's like, but it's the sort of thing that we've edited we've done a lot of podcasts. We've worked with a lot of nonprofits. We've worked with several larger firms. And again, Robert said it phenomenally about 20 minutes ago in terms of creating content is honestly the whole reason I started this company to begin with, because being able to work with individuals that create content, take those stories, capture those moments and bring them to life, and to be able to see the client and the people that listen and consume the content go, wow, that was incredible. That's a driving factor for me. I'm so happy to have Finlay as kind of like the main audio engineer now, because I remember when we had Zoom calls that I would walk the two of you through Adobe Audition and Adobe Premiere. And now Finlay, I would argue she's got some skill sets that even surpass mine. She's like, yeah, no, you could do these shortcuts. I'm like, wait, I've been using the program for 6 years. I didn't know you could do that.
That's Finlay.
She is phenomenal. Yes.
Y'all both are, but yes.
It's just been phenomenal to watch everything grow. And I've been so blessed to be a part of this journey. And Chris, I thank you so much.
Chris, and I will say to everyone, Chris has been on the podcast. He has overcome type 1 diabetes and many things. He's a warrior in many levels and a strong business professional. So check that out. You've also done one on how to start a podcast because that's your wheelhouse. So if anyone wants to reach Chris, I will have all of his information, and I'm going to have everyone's contact information in show notes. So if there's anything you hear and you want to reach out to anyone, it'll be there. So Chris is amazing. Couldn't do without him. So now, last but not least, Finlay. Finlay, welcome. Thank you, my friend, for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The only way I know how to introduce Finlay is she's my right hand, my girl Friday, my brain, my everything. I do not know what I would do without Finlay. She is the most organized. She keeps me together in many ways. She totally runs my Instagram and she does the podcast with Chris. So Finlay, just introduce yourself and then tell in a nutshell what you do.
Yeah, sure thing. So I just graduated from Stanford University with a degree in journalism and mass communication. I had 3 concentrations in advertising, public relations, and broadcast journalism. And I also had a minor in theater. I just graduated back in April, and I started with Family Savvy a little over 2 years ago. I started as soon as the pandemic hit because I also work as a dance teacher, and that job was having to shut down because of the pandemic. And so I was wanting to make some extra money during a time where I was just sitting at home. And I remember I saw an email from Stanford that mentioned about a job opening for Family Savvy. And I reached out to Jamie a few times and it just worked out perfectly. And ever since then, I've been with the team. I was hired to do Instagram. I still continue to do that. I plan and organize posts, and I help Jamie interact with her followers. And on top of that, I also have taken on the audio portion of the podcast. So
you get it first. You get it first. Then it goes to Chris. Y'all work. That's y'all's system.
Oh yeah. I always touch the podcast first, do the initial edits, and then I'll send him the video portion for him to edit. And then once he's done with it, then it's ready. It's ready to go out into the world.
Sarah Morgan for the show notes. A lot of hands are on that podcast. It's y'all, then Sarah Morgan, and then Katie, who's not here, gets all the bio and all the Zoom. There's a lot behind.
There's a lot of moving parts for a podcast.
Ooh, especially once you're on YouTube and you Zoom and you have guests. So y'all just handle it. I don't ever worry. And I do want to say Finlay has been accepted and she's leaving in a few weeks. 7 months.
Yes.
I'm still going to be on board, but Disney College.
Yes, ma'am. I will be doing the Disney College program beginning the end of June through January. So I will be in Orlando, Florida.
Yes, but she's still going to be working with Chris on the podcast. And I'm hoping that when she's done with Disney, there can be bigger, brighter things here in addition to whatever you do. But you've got so much going on. And Finlay, you also work with brands when we have collaborations with Callie's Biscuits and we've had a myriad collaborations. You are always the go-to, and you remind me, oh, you need to make something with Kettle and Fire because we've got until the end of the month. I would never be able to do all that I do. You're so organized and so spot on. But
thank you. It's a lot to bring together, but I love it. I also love the public relations side of Family Savvy. I think it's so fun, especially when I had to dabble in it more this year. I think that was super
Yeah. And you did a whole media kit. You did a huge project for Sanford, but I was your person, the business, and she presented to Zane and me. How many pages was the book that
I designed an entire PR booklet for Family Savvy that was 40 pages long. It took a long time, but it was so worth it. It was so beautiful. The PR campaign was very, very good. I was very proud of that project for sure.
Yeah. And so you are an example of a young, enterprising graduate who's got big hopes and dreams, but you've got so many things going on, and you are my unofficial operations manager. So
thank you. Thank you.
But anyway, is there anything you would like to say, Finlay? Anything else before because I know Robert's got a meeting and y'all are all busy. So is there anything else you would like to say before you hop off?
I am just really blessed to have had this opportunity. It was truly a God thing to bring us together for this. And like I said, I was looking for a job. I was needing a job, and never did I think that I would have loved it. This job has made me realize at first I was not interested in public relations at all. And then once I started this job, I was like, oh my word, this is the best thing ever. I want to do this for I want to do this for my career. And I really owe that to Family Savvy to help me realize that PR is what I want to go to. It's what I want to do with my life. And I'm so appreciative of that.
Well, I'm glad for anything I could have done to help y'all, and y'all are the best team ever. And I'll have everyone's information on the show notes. And guys, I'm going to let you all get back to what you were doing. Thank you for introducing yourselves and sharing yourselves with my people. And I just appreciate all of you. And I'll be talking to you all soon.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Y'all take care.